My name, like JL said, is Jim Wendler. That's a little introduction. I am the strength and conditioning coach at London High School, the prestigious London High School. And last year I attended this and I listened to 3 or 4 people speak. And when I left, I went home to my wife and I told her the biggest, she's like, how was it? What'd you learn? And I said, the biggest takeaway I had was the chasm, that's what I called it. It's not a hole, it's not a gap, it's a chasm between what real coaches are doing and what is being portrayed on the internet as training. And it was like a mind-blowing experience, and I knew that, and I think most of us know that. But if you go through any kind of social media thing, wow, is there a little feedback? If you go through any kind of social media feed or YouTube, I guess that's social media, I don't know how you classify YouTube exactly. What is being portrayed as training and what people are doing, real coaches and real athletes are doing, it was so mind-blowingly different. YouTube and Instagram and all that stuff and everything that's being taught to the younger coaches and trainers and athletes and everything is all about, it's just like a snapshot. And so everyone thinks that's what happens every day. They think they need to beat the shit out of themselves every day. They think there's glory in all that stuff. And the reality is, most of us, when we coach, we just let the kids punch the ticket. That's what I call it, right? We just mail it in. And I know it sounds kind of bad, but I just want you to understand that everyone that you're going to hear speak today is real. What you see on the internet isn't real. And I know the irony of, I helped build my company and Dave's company's on the internet and all that stuff. But one thing I hope that we've portrayed was the truth. And a lot of what I see on the internet is not the truth. And it's a smoke show. Here's a picture of my fake training life, okay? So just understand that. Okay. I'm massively nervous for some reason. Okay, so I train high school athletes. I also train junior high athletes also. And once we started getting this ball rolling, more kids started coming in. You have to understand that you don't need a physics background or a PhD in exercise science to work with high school kids or to even coach them or get them any better. I said all you need is a little experience and a lot of common sense. That goes all the way, okay? I urge everyone to, I call it bullshit and the baloney. That's what's being fed to you. We have kids, and I'm sure, does anyone here work with high school kids? Okay. It has been my experience, and this is, obviously I've worked with kids before, but their level of preparedness today versus when I was growing up has changed dramatically. Where's Kyle at? Where are you at, buddy?
Right here.
Well, raise your hand, man. Okay, there you are. Oh, okay. That's Kyle. He's going to be he's my head coach. He's my boss. I'll mention him quite a bit because he deserves a lot of this credit. But we have kids come in, and Kyle's done an awesome job building a culture for London High School, the football team. He's a football coach. Where kids are starting to come in and starting to believe a little bit more. We have a very unified training program that if you play football, no matter what other sport you play, you are part of our training program in the off season, even though you are in season with basketball, wrestling, baseball, stuff like that. But we have these kids coming in, and we obviously have kids that come in, and I'm not making this up. We got kids who can't do a bodyweight squat. That's not an exaggeration. We have kids that can't do that. We had a kid the other day first day in, couldn't jump on a 14-inch box. All right, just, that's this tall, okay? We had to do 12-inch step off and lands, teaching them how to land, stuff like that. If you gave me 10 kids, I think 3 of them as 8th graders can do push-ups. 2 of them can do chin-ups. So the good thing is they suck. And I know it sounds bad because it doesn't take a lot to get them better. And and I always try to say with Kyle, when Kyle and I'll get to this, first started talking, and he would ask me, his background's in strength and conditioning. He said, what about this? Why don't we do this? And I said, listen, man, if they can't physically run a mile I'm not talking jog, I'm talking all-out run. If they can't do that and can't do chin-ups and push-ups, we don't need anything special, okay? And it sounds crazy. I don't know if there's probably a lot of older dudes in here. Do you guys remember like in 7th and 8th grade, you have to run a mile and you just go out and run a mile? That doesn't happen anymore. And I'm not saying you need to run a mile to play football, but you should have the ability to go all out for a mile, okay? So I'm gonna go over some of the basic stuff and then I'm gonna go into the meat of what we do. So basically what I'm saying is these kids have no strength base, no aerobic base, and no movement base. We do a lot of gymnastics type movements as part of our warm-up. As you can probably imagine, I'm not the most agile person in the world right now, but just incorporating stuff like cartwheels, it sounds ridiculous. We do a ton of front rolls, handstands, handstand walking, because these kids haven't been exposed to that. And we don't do a lot, we don't spend 30 minutes on this, it's probably 3 or 4 minutes, but 3 or 4 minutes for 4 years, 3 days a week adds up, okay? But that's what we're working with. We don't have the kids that went out in the jungle gym and can do the monkey bars anymore. We just don't have that. So we have to take that as a starting point. We don't have the starting point that I had when I was in junior high or high school. So you guys have to accept that and don't blame the kids. It's your fault, it's the parents' fault, okay? Not you. You guys understand that? So I got really frustrated. Kyle will tell you, even my wife went up to Kyle because she's like, I can't live with this fucking asshole at home. I get so mad, and I'm like, what do you, like, you gotta give me something to work with. Give me at least a big, good rock so I can chisel. Don't give me a big pile of turds. However, I stayed with it, and I don't wanna down these kids because some of these kids I can talk about, and I love them to death. Every team is probably gonna have better athletes than we do. However, we will never lose a game because we are out of condition, we are weaker, and we're not as tough, okay? And a lot of the toughness comes, again, Kyle laid the foundation for several years. I said that, don't worry about the game. Don't worry about the season opener. Don't worry about the first scrimmage. This is worry about right now, okay? Does that make sense? I don't want the kids to get too wrapped up and too worried. And I always say, if you keep your head down and focus on each step, you'll go farther than if you keep your eyes on the horizon. People usually stumble, okay? So that was my big take. Let's get the work in today. Don't worry about running. You know how that is, right? When you're lifting, you got to run afterwards. Everyone's worried about the running. I said, fuck it, just don't worry about it. And I tell the kids straight up every time, running's going to be easy. Running's going to be a little hard today. I've never lied to them. I want them focused on what they're doing, okay? And that's how I try to carry that over to the field. It's very important. So this kid here, I'm not supposed to step in front of the 35 there, Bricker, he's a kid that bought all in. And in 2016, he started the 2016 offseason benching 185 for 5. He had an okay year, but he was a little apprehensive on the field. 3 months later, never benching over more than 205, he benched as a test 215 for 23, okay? Now he gained a little too much weight, all right? But that's the kind of, now last year he was honorable mention All-State or something like that, I don't know, and he was an absolute force on the field. He's not very fast, he probably runs a 5 flat 40 if he's lucky, but he's an absolute assassin on the field. And watching him physically change was insane. He's got the biggest quads and ass you've seen on a normal looking human. And he probably weighed, 200 pounds? And he's 240 right now, and he's in good shape. So that's one of the many things, one of the many changes. Okay, so let's get to some of the meat of it. Our training is incredibly simple. It's not the super secret Soviet strength program, okay? I'm gonna just give you the outline and I'll show you what we do. We do some kind of mobility and or gymnastics movement every single day. That's how we start. All right, we do the same basic stuff. I throw in a couple wrinkles here and there. The reason why we don't throw a lot of wrinkles in is because Bricker runs it now. It's important that we have established leadership early on in the off season. Bricker got the nod. Last year, JJ got the nod. JJ was you want to talk about fucking crazy. He jumped over a 32-inch box at 305. Now think about that for a second. Not on, over, okay? He was, I don't know, I think that he might be over there. But anyway, he was absolutely a beast, okay? But this, I'm not, it's more important that the kids know their leader and he learns how to speak up, because being a leader sucks. Everyone talks about being a leader, but very few people want to do it. Being a leader, you don't have many friends. You have to speak up. You have to be willing to show up every single day. If you have you don't get to have a bad day. You don't get to be down. You don't get to feel sorry for yourself, because everyone's counting on you. JJ filled that role admirably last year, and now Bricker's doing it. We got to get Bricker a little more, I don't want to say vocal, but he needs to assert himself a little bit more. Now KJ is starting to do it too, our top running back. But that's important, so that they try to, I obviously tell Bricker what to do. I give him hand signals. 4, we got 3, 2 of them. Anyway, so Bricker runs that, okay? All right, so we always start with that. That's nothing new, right? But we do gymnastics. I think that has been hugely helpful. And miraculously, the kids who can do cartwheels, can you guess, they're the best athletes. They're the best players on the field, okay? And the other reason why we do that is our kids' body awareness went through the roof. Now we do a forward roll or a cartwheel to a jump onto a box. And it sounds ridiculous, but when you always know where your body is in space, all right? And this is, again, something that they're not really, during physical education or whatever, or, just playing around with the kids, they don't get that. Okay, we do some kind of jumping every workout. Now, last year I kind of fucked this up a little bit. By the way, my language sucks, I know. All right, but don't let that deter you from my message, okay? So look through that. We do some kind of jumping every single day. Last year I screwed it up a little bit. We probably added a little too much volume of jumping because I wanted to see how far we could take it. You got to know where the edge is. Does that make sense? Before you know how to pull back. We have found no more than 20 contacts, usually 10 to 15, okay? Now, obviously, we have to teach the kids how to land and absorb force, right? When you make a cut, you got to stick, absorb force, and pull off. So that's our big thing, is we got to teach people how to land first before we teach them how to jump. Now, this sounds ridiculous. We have to teach kids how to jump with 2 feet. And that sounds dumb, right? But that's the truth. We have to teach kids how to jump using their arms and both their feet, which that's kind of how it is. So that's another thing that we do. Most of our jumps for the majority of the kids are what I would call easy jumps. We land, we jump, and stick the landing. All right, again, absorbing force. Our more experienced guys can do some kind of bounding. Do you guys know what bounding is? When you step off a box, you minimal ground, it's like a baseball or a tennis ball hitting the ground hard, and they bound up on top of a box, okay? The lighter kids and the kids who are a little stronger can handle that. But again, no more than 10 or 15. I took it probably to as much as 50 per workout, and it didn't do any better, and it got the kids, a couple of them had shin splints, so we just cut that out. So once again, a little bit micro-dosing over a long period of time works, right? Amazing. You're never gonna guess that. Okay, we lift 3 days a week. After every one of those days, we run, okay? During the winter months, it gets a little tough, but if I can go out there and not get sued, or Kyle doesn't get a call from the parents, then I'm good. I will run them, okay? So that's 3 days, 3 days a week, 3 days of running. We also do only one main barbell lift per workout. The reason we do this is I want complete focus on one thing during the training session. I don't want 4 or 5 barbell work, I don't want to do clean, squat, bench, because then nothing's important, okay? When you're dealing with kids, especially high school kids, you got to keep them on track. So we have one main focus per workout. That main lift is generally done for between 50 and 75 submax reps a day. Sometimes we'll push that a little farther. We actually tried a little too much, and again, that backfired. Every day we do 2 assistance exercises. So every time we do one set of a squat, bench, or deadlift, those are our 3 main lifts, or trap bar deadlift, we do a set of one of the 2 assistance exercises. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. We squat, do some kind of squat, some kind of push, and some kind of pull every day. When we bench press, we do dumbbell squats and dumbbell straight leg deadlifts, okay? What, I can't believe this is how much I've grown. Like, this is my version of growth, right? I always thought the dumbbell squat was lame because, you know, if you squat 1,000 pounds, what's a 100-pound dumbbell going to be? Well, I'm not a high school kid. I was much stronger. When we first started doing dumbbell squats, I did it because I needed to teach the JV kids how to squat. And we needed, they could body weight squat okay after a while, but we just needed to add some load, and I wasn't going to put a bar on these kids' back. The changes that we had with the kids, incorporating this into a total training program has been outstanding. Bricker, that kid there, or he's not there, I don't know. Yeah, he is. I don't know, it doesn't matter. Bricker, for example, we only had 100-pound dumbbells for a while. He put a 100-pound dumbbell and put 6 chains on top of that. You guys know how much that weighs? 232. 232 pounds for 5 sets of 15. Can you imagine holding a 232-pound dumbbell? Okay. Granted, when we first started, none of these kids would touch the 100-pound dumbbell. Now we have kids doing 5 sets of 20 with the 150. Okay. The biggest takeaway is one, for whatever reason, everyone's biceps got stronger, or bigger, I should say, because they were statically holding, right? Their upper backs got huge because, again, they're statically holding. And we have 0 hip mobility problems anymore because they're able to, it's like doing a front squat. And the other thing I like about it is there's no consequence. If you fail, you just drop the dumbbell, right? Plus, to get a 150-pound dumbbell up in position, they can't put it on a box or cheat. They have to do a really shitty looking continental clean. And I think that's important, okay? But anyway, all right. Including the warm-up, the jumping, the main lifts, assistance, and running, we generally spend no more than, I'd say, 1 hour and 15 to 1 hour and 20 minutes at the most. Our training is incredibly efficient. That's what I've designed it to be. There's a couple reasons why. One, you don't need to spend a lot of time. I think everyone kind of understands that. 2, working long hours doesn't equal anything other than working long hours. Quality is always better than quantity. 3, most of our kids work. It's a very working class town, so we need to get the kids out of there. 4, I talked to Joe Ken about this. I want the kids to come in. If we're there from 3 o'clock to 7:30, how many kids end up showing up after a while? 0. 0. So I want them fresh. I want them excited to come in. Again, we started out with, now we have like 60 kids at one time come in, and it's all voluntary. And it's the most amazing thing you've seen, just the way everything's turned around. Number 5 or 6, I don't remember what number on them. I don't want to spend any more time there than I have to. I tell the kids all the time, I have nothing in interest with them. I don't like them as people. I'm just joking. But they're 18 or 15, 16 years old, 14 years old. I don't have anything in common. I don't really care I don't have no interest with them, Does that make sense? That's my joke that I tell them. You're so ugly and my wife is so pretty, you suck. So, and the kids have really responded to that because they know that I tell them, everything we do matters. I will never do anything in the weight room that doesn't matter because it's wasting my time. JL talked about time. I refuse to waste my time. So don't confuse lots of work with good quality work. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. All right, now here comes the meat of everything. How much time do I got left? Does anyone know? I'm supposed to get cue cards or something. Good times. All right, good answer. Okay. If anyone's read any of my books, I always believe in principles over everything else. Everything I do is based on principles. It's not about the sets and reps and the exercises and all that stuff. It's more about principles. This is it. If I could sum everything up, it's don't kill them. I gotta see how much time I have left. How much time do I have left? Holy shit. Oh man. Don't kill them. That's it, okay? We never kill our kids. That doesn't mean the workouts aren't hard, but I never want to leave a kid, puking at the end of a workout. I think that's idiotic. So here it is. No record boards. Other thing I tell the kids, I do not care how much you squat, bench, or deadlift. I do not care. It doesn't bother me. If you start chasing numbers, then everything gets thrown out the window. Their form goes to shit. They start getting nervous about this and that, whatever. I don't know. I don't care. Our training maxes are so fucking low. Let's put it this way. Our average team deadlift was 415 using between 2 and 10 reps. Does that make sense? do the rep. We had 5 guys with training maxes over 300 pounds. Does that make sense? We don't train that heavy. We train the main lifts for power. You see this right here? Everything is done with speed. Number of reasons why. One, football is a power sport. These kids need to learn how to apply force. That's the hardest thing to teach these kids. When you come off of a ball, if you're an eighth of a second quicker, you win that play. So I'm trying to get these kids to learn control, 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 explode, control. So that's a big thing. We can't do that with young kids with very heavy weight. The other thing is, if I'm squatting and Jeremy Frey and I are squatting and we've got 495 on the bar and something gets out of whack, both Jeremy and I have enough experience and strength to either bail or get out of it. Does that make sense? A 15-year-old kid, does he have any experience doing that?
Hell no.
That's how they get hurt. Their kids aren't very smart. You guys have to understand that a group or a person is often smart, but as a group, everyone's dumb, right? The mob mentality. So no record boards, and it kills the kids, especially in the beginning. I can do much more. I'm like, I don't care. I think I can do more. No, I don't care. We had kids that have been with us since I got there in about mid-2016 that we go up 5 pounds on all of our training maxes every 3 weeks. We have majority of the kids in the squat and deadlift have never reset. If you add up all that time, it's pretty insane, okay? As an example, Brickers just bumps up 5 pounds every time. The kid who went from 185, he just benched 275 for 8, all right? I don't think he's touched anything over 250 in the weight room. So I say this is a little misnomer. It says 8 months, not 8 weeks. It's actually 4 years, not 8 weeks. When we get the kids coming in, I tell them we got 4 years to get you better. I don't rush anything. The way that we train, that was the hardest thing to get these kids to do, to understand the pace of our workouts. And we're still not even close to where I want them to be. But again, I have to compromise. I'm not gonna shove this shit down the kids' throats over and over again. But even when we start, we only start with, instead of 2 assistant lifts, we do 1. Because the kids sometimes can't, like, which one do I do? I don't understand. So fuck it, we're just gonna do 2 things. We pound the shit out of them and let them leave, okay? And I always think about it like this. You got a huge beard, brother. If you and I had a bench press contest on Friday, right? Would you bench press heavy Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and expect to be any good on Friday? So then why the hell do you beat the shit out of your kids in practice? And so this is the kind of thinking that we had. And it's unbelievable how dumb football is sometimes in regards to practice and training. I got really frustrated. Kyle will tell you, even my wife went up to Kyle because she's like, I can't live with this fucking asshole at home. I get so mad, and I'm like, what do you, like, you gotta give me something to work with. Give me at least a big, good rock so I can chisel. Don't give me a big pile of turds. However, I stayed with it, and I don't wanna down these kids because some of these kids I can talk about, and I love them to death. The changes that have gone on just by doing some of the most basic shit has been mind-blowing. So I'm gonna go on and we're gonna talk about the changes. And Kyle, forgive me, because I'm gonna talk about the 2016 to 2017 season. Okay, I think I don't know how to do this. This is the worst part about giving this whole speech. I wrote this whole everything out about 3 months ago, and then I don't know how to do any of this shit anymore. PowerPoint, I don't know how to, so just bear with me. Okay, so the 2016 season, to give you guys just a little background, okay? I started as a football coach, not as a strength and conditioning coach, as a football coach, right at the beginning of the season, about when 2-a-days started. I don't know if it was the first day of 2-a-days or whatever. And I just called Kyle up. Matt Goodwin, where are you at? I don't know if he's even here. Matt Goodwin came and talked to me, said, hey, they're looking for some help. I called Kyle up. And Kyle did a hell of a job selling it to me. He's like, listen, we just need a warm, competent body out there. We don't have a lot of help. We're a very small school in rural Ohio. So you guys have to understand that. It's not like we're Massillon, high school. Okay? So the 2016 season, it was as bad of a football season as you could ever imagine. It was just tough. And it was, as tough as it was on me, it was worse on Kyle and it was worse on the kids. We got demolished. We won 3 games, and Kyle, you can kick my ass after this. One game was literally that we won was against the worst team I've ever seen in my entire life. In all my years of watching football and being part of football, there was no one worse. They had kids in 3-point stances like this that would just stand up and just kind of look around. It was like what you imagine, like 5-year-olds, like you put on a helmet and it's like wiggling around, and they snap the ball and it's, what's going on, Mom? We beat them by a touchdown. So it was I'm not joking, 28-27 or something like that, right? I don't know, or 20, whatever it was. We actually had a kid kick a 50-yard field goal, so that was one of our bright spots during that game, 51-yard field goal. Thank God for the field goal, right? So we had, I think by the 3rd or 4th game, our entire offensive backfield was completely different. At one point, we had 7 starters out. And so you say 7 starters, well, everyone goes both ways at London, Ohio, within reason, okay? So that's 7 on both sides of the ball. Our last game was against Columbus Academy. It was a private school, pretty good football school. And we ended the season, I don't think we crossed the 50 that whole game. And they had a running clock in the second half. If you're up by 30, in the second half, they just have a running clock. They just, they stop it for a change of possession or something. That's it. So if the kid goes out of bounds, they just let the clock run just to, be nice to the kids so they don't get slaughtered, okay? So about halfway through that season, Kyle was also doing the strength and conditioning. Kyle says, and I said, I'll do all this if you want to. That's fine. Kyle's job is in strength and conditioning. Kyle's job is the head football coach. And is anyone here actually a head football coach? You have the shittiest job in the world. It's tough because you're the coach, you're the father for a lot of these kids, you're a psychiatrist, you're a tutor, right? And you have to deal with everything that's coming down. Now, in addition, you've got to call all the plays, you've got to do all that bullshit, and now you've got to do the strength and conditioning. It's really not that fair, so you shouldn't be here. I'm just joking, dude. Know your role. That's a big thing I talk about. So I started doing it, and at that point, because it was in season, as anyone who has got half a brain, your in-season training is 100% dependent on your off-season training. Does that make sense? You guys understand? That makes sense, right? So if you do power cleans and presses throughout the off-season, you should do you can't introduce lunges in the in-season, expect kids not to be sore. So it was kind of tough for me, but I tried to scale it back as much as I could and just was smart about it. But it wasn't my program at that point. It was still Kyle's. So 2016 season is over. Within 1 week, we had 100% except for some of the basketball players that played, kids who play basketball, show up for off-season training. And that is the most amazing thing I've ever seen because we literally came off one of the worst seasons I've ever seen, and every kid showed up. Let's go. We're going to do this. Let's change this shit around. Okay. So just so you guys understand, now the 2017 season, we went 8-3 in the regular season, made the playoffs for the first time with 20 years, won the conference. We passed, literally, I'm not even making this up, I actually had a picture of our quarterback throwing a play in this presentation, but I took it out because seeing him throw a pass was like Sasquatch at the beach, if you can get it. Not just Sasquatch out in the open, we passed maybe 2 or 3 times a game. That was it. For the most part, everyone knew exactly what we were going to do. We had a bunch of road graders up front. We beat the shit out of teams. And even the teams that beat us, the 3 losses we had, we basically road graded them into the ground and made them give up, even though they won. But during one of our games, I think our second, third, or fourth game, we ran a quarterback sneak the entire third quarter. You guys, can you imagine that? And I'm not talking 2-yard gains. I'm talking 8, 3, 5, 12, 2. And it's one of those things I always laugh. It's like, well, they can run it twice in a row, but they're not going to run it 3 times in a row. right? Well, maybe 3, but not 4. Ah, fuck. But yeah, just. So our offensive line and obviously our quarterback were just amazing. Obviously our tailback had like 3,000 yards last year, okay? And our defense was stout. Once I think it took a little bit more time for whatever reason for our defense to get going. But understand, guys, this was a team that had no identity, none. We didn't know how we're gonna be. We had no idea how good we're gonna be. And we were the strongest team out there. And the first thing, when I addressed the team, where's the clicker thing? Boop. Okay, that's Kyle. I call him El Jefe. He's the drug lord around. He's the main man. Okay, so Kyle and I talked all through the off season, all through the in season, and I spend more time with Kyle, and Kyle and I spend more time with the kids than any other coach. He's there every day during the training, and we talk incessantly, just about everything we can. It's not just about football, but so we would have these long conversations, and it was tough coming off that bad season, right? The 2016 season, and then finally we were laughing. I'm like, Kyle, let's just do everything the opposite. Like the George Costanza thing, you guys remember that episode in Seinfeld? Just do everything the opposite of what we did, because it can't get any worse. It cannot get any worse. And he's laughing, and then we're like, fuck it, let's do it, you know? So we, as an example, we didn't condition one time during the season. You guys know like fourth quarter drills and stuff? 0. Okay, now that has a lot to do with how we train. But we started thinking logically, like why do people do 2-a-days in football? Well, because everyone else does 2-a-days, right? And you don't really think about it. So we're like, well, the only reason the real reason is most of the people didn't train back in the day, and so they used this time to get into shape. Well, our kids were in amazing shape, right? We have a very small turnout for football, so 2-a-days we're just knocking the shit out of guys. So we're like, fuck it, we're not doing 2-a-days. We're gonna lift right through our 2-a-days. We're gonna keep our strength, keep our condition, we're gonna keep the kids fresh as possible. Okay, again, we have basically everyone goes both ways. So that's just an example of some of the stuff that we were doing. And then as we started talking more and more, I told Kyle, or maybe Kyle told this to me, but I'll take credit for it. I said, there's really 2 kinds of coaches out there, and whatever discipline, whether it be strength coaching or football or volleyball or whatever the hell it is. There's coaches that do shit the way that they were taught and what they've done. And the other coach does stuff the way that it should be done or how they wish they would be done. And I think a lot of us, we romanticize the old days, right? Well, we did it like this, we were tougher, this and that. Well, how about when you're a player? Do you guys think, did this really work? Why did you do it? And we really started, every part of our football program, we started thinking, well, what's the reason why we do this? Is it really necessary? Because as JL said, time is a big thing. And time is a really big thing when we had a small school and we don't have a lot of kids. You guys understand that? Okay. So anyway, I give a lot of credit to Kyle because he forces me to think. I force him to think. I'll give you a good example. Every day before practice, I run all the kids through their mobility and movement work, right? Part of that is we do a lot of gymnastics stuff, a little bit of jumping before we practice, stuff like that. Once that's done, I run over to Kyle, and I use that term very loosely. It's more of a stride. Kyle used to wear a weight vest every day during practice. So he wasn't running at all. Anyway, I would go over and say, listen, Kyle, the kids look good. Do what you need to do, but let's get them out when you can. Okay. If the kids, a good coach can look at a group and see that they're not ready. Maybe they're exhausted. I would go over to Kyle and say, listen, man, get them out early. They're exhausted right now. And to Kyle's credit, instead of being stubborn about it, he took that advice. I don't know if he took it all the time, but that's how we work together. Because one of the things that forced Kyle to do is force him to become a better coach, right? He had to be more efficient. He had to, every coach had to be more efficient. Instead of being out there for 2.5 hours, we're out there for 1 hour and 15 minutes. This helped us stay fresh. And I always think about it like this. You got a huge beard, brother. If you and I had a bench press contest on Friday, right? Would you bench press heavy Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and expect to be any good on Friday? So then why the hell do you beat the shit out of your kids in practice? And so this is the kind of thinking that we had. And it's unbelievable how dumb football is sometimes in regards to practice and training, right? You guys understand? Anyone play football here? Come on. Right? It just beat the shit out of you, beat the shit out of you. And then it comes Friday, like, why is that kid limping? Well, I don't know, maybe because you took him to the ground 14 times and did Oklahoma drill 3 days a week. Okay, so thank you, Kyle, for your help, brother. And thanks for trusting me. Here's a good, now Kyle's got the strength and conditioning background. And so naturally, it's his team, right? I'm just working for Kyle, okay? I talk about know your role. That's my role as strength and conditioning. If Kyle needs something done, I get it done. But I'll fight, all right? So Kyle, when we first started off season, he's like, listen, why don't we do this? Can we do this? What about this? And I'm like, Kyle, are the kids any good? No. All right, just let me do my thing. What about this? No, don't worry about that. And then, so he fought a little bit. And then one day I walk up to the weight room and I see Kyle sitting on a bench press with his head, in his hands, just totally defeated. And I'm like, dude, what's going on? He's like, I just did our workout. I did what the kids did. I'm like, you all right? And he said, I'll never question anything you say again. All right. Because what we got these kids doing is pretty phenomenal. And I have an example of it. So, if anything, guys, the one takeaway from all this is if you're a strength coach, work with your sport coaches and get them on the same page. The bottom line is they have the final say, but if you got to fight like hell to get them on your side and see things more logically, okay? Because training that worked 25 years ago for football, the principles remain the same, but the application is going to be different. Okay, like I said, the readiness for kids today is incredibly low. You are essentially making up for 12 to 13 years of inactivity. You guys understand that? Does anyone see that? Last year I talked to a bunch of the coaches here, I'm not going to name names, and I asked them, I said, what kind of running volume can you guys do? And I didn't ask them as a group, I asked individually. I asked 5 coaches, 3 were in the NFL, 2 were in major college football. So what kind of running volume can you do? And I talked to Joe Ken. I asked you that same question. And all of them like, oh, dude, it's fucking low, really low. Now, when you were playing, Joe, how much did you run? A lot, right? Like, yeah. And you would just run. Thursdays before our game the kids would run, and we run like 1600s. And we were fine. But the kids are different these days. And again, it's not their fault, so don't take it out on them. That's the best. Because trust me, I did. It's not good. Okay, so the off-season attitude. This is going to be kind of quick. Here it is. JL said something interesting. You learn from failing, right? Well, the other day I told Kyle, if we went 5-5 in 2016, we probably wouldn't have changed much. The shitty season was a blessing because it forced us to really reevaluate. Without massive failure, there cannot be massive growth. So as bad as that season was, man, it turned everything around. And I'll tell you what, our community, we live in a small town. I don't know, there's 10,000 people or so, right, Kyle, about that? It's spread out. It's a farm country. The difference in the attitude in that city was phenomenal. And I don't want to be one of those guys who's like, high school football is everything, like the Friday Night Lights guys. But that school changed, the community changed, and the amount of support that we had was insane. Now, it kind of pisses me off because when the chips are down is when we need you the most. But that's not, we have to deliver a good product, okay? So the 2017 off-season attitude, these are the things I told the kids. 1, I never care how many wins and losses they have. It's not important to me. I don't give a shit. All I care about is their effort on that day, on that exercise, and that set. And I call it, you gotta win the battle before you win the war. As an example, if you're a football player, every play is a battle, right? In a game, every play is a battle. If you do your best and try to win that battle, every play, and everyone does that, the score will take care of itself, okay? Now, in our case, we have a couple good athletes, but we're never I told the kids this too. You guys have to understand that a group or a person is often smart, but as a group, everyone's dumb, right? The mob mentality. So, so no record boards, and it kills the kids, especially in the beginning. They all, I can do much more. I'm like, I don't care. I think I can do more. No, I don't care. We had kids that have been with us since I got there in about mid-2016 that we go up 5 pounds on all of our training maxes every 3 weeks. We have majority of the kids in the squat and deadlift have never reset. If you add up all that time, it's pretty insane, okay? As an example, Brickers just bumps up 5 pounds every time. The kid who went from 185, he just benched 275 for 8, all right? I don't think he's touched anything over 250 in the weight room. So I say this is a little misnomer. It says 8 months, not 8 weeks. It's actually 4 years, not 8 weeks. When we get the kids coming in, I tell them we got 4 years to get you better. I don't rush anything. The way that we train, that was the hardest thing to get these kids to do, to understand the pace of our workouts. And we're still not even close to where I want them to be. But again, I have to compromise. I'm not gonna shove this shit down the kids' throats over and over again. But even when we start, we only start with, instead of 2 assistant lifts, we do 1. Because the kids sometimes can't, like, which one do I do? Which, I don't understand. So fuck it, we're just gonna do 2 things. We pound the shit out of them and let them leave, okay? But we look at the long-term approach. The slower gains that you make and the slower approach, the faster your gains will be. Last year, during the 2016 season, January rolls around. And so the kids have been with us for November, about two and a half months. Kyle looks at me and says, we have made more progress in 2 months than we did in 2 years. The kids all the teachers were coming up to myself and Kyle like, holy shit, what are you guys doing with these kids? If you looked at how much weight they're really doing on their main lifts, right, it wasn't terribly impressive. But the kids got faster, stronger. It was a huge change. But if I would have forced fed, it's like, you guys ever, I'm sure people went to college and high school, cram for a test. Does any of that lasting knowledge, right? You have barely until 9 a.m. to remember that, and then you're out. So I tell the kids it's better if we study for 15 minutes every day, as an example, to get them better. If we study 15 minutes every day, by the time the final rolls around, do you think you have to study much? No, right? Does that make sense? Come on, people. I know it's early. All right. We run early and we run often. Because the kids don't have a huge running background, we run as much as we can. We do not run a lot. We probably run on average about 1,600 meters total, not a mile, but maybe total in a day. Because of this, by the time, maybe the last 3 months before the season, we slowly increase the running volume, slowly. It gets to the point where the kids will run for 45 minutes straight and they'll be completely fine. If you try to jam in the running too late in the year, then their lifting goes right in the shitter, and kids love to lift, right? Much more than running, right? Anyone? Yes? Okay. So then we take that away, we take their confidence away, so I said, screw it, we're gonna start running, and it was this, we maybe run 1,000 sometimes just to get them out running. Anything we can do. But I don't believe in the old thing, let the 2-a-days get you in shape. We wanna be ready. I want these athletes to be ready for whatever Kyle throws at them and always recover. That's the goal, okay? All of our assistance is done, I tell the kids, boy, hypertrophy, that's really bad. I call everything that we do for our upper body, from the bench press, to the dumbbell work, to the rowing, to the pull-ups, to the dips, stuff like that, we only build armor. I don't care how much the kids bench press. I really don't care how much they bench press. I call it getting our prom muscles on, okay? We don't care how much they, I just want them bigger, because that's one of the best ways to increase your bench press. It's probably really the best way for a young kid is to just get some muscle mass on them. And most of these kids are lacking so much muscle mass in their upper body. So I said, screw it, let's not worry about how much you bench. In fact, we had a kid, a senior last year, who went to a camp, and they asked him, how much do you, what's your bench? He's like, I don't know, we never test. He's like, how can you never test? You never max out? He's like, coach won't let us. Guess who had the highest bench in that group? That was him. I don't think he benched over 245, and I think he did 315 for 5 or something. It's the most, I don't understand how it works, but it works. Okay, we limit the shit out of the movements. We only do, including the main lifts and assistants, 7 things. That's it. 7 movements. I got this from I'll just pretend I sound cool, from Jefe, right? Because he did very little movements. There's a couple reasons why we do this. How much time do I got? What do I got there? 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes? Okay. Okay, we limit the shit out of our movements. There's a couple reasons why. I got this from Jefe, and I actually got it from an article I read on a rugby coach, okay? One, the kids suck at all the movements. If I change things up, the kid's never good at anything. That's just the bottom line, guys. Okay. Number two, our kids, other than the first time they get indoctrinated in the program, they never get sore. After about 2 weeks, the kids are never sore. This makes things much easier to run when we run. The kids aren't hobbling around. Our recovery between workout sessions is absolutely insane. So we can, once we start building the volume, it's not a big deal. Three, probably the most important thing, is our in-season training can be hard and heavy. The kids never get sore again. So now we can train right through the in-season. Our in-season training, we never backed up. We went straight through. The big change that we did, we cut out all barbell squats. I got that, I think, maybe from Buddy, and I can't tell you how many hours of my life I wasted wrestling with this, because I'm always a big squatter. I always squatted during the season, and it was like Sophie's Choice. You guys understand Sophie's Choice? If you're not, you should go see the movie. It killed me, and I'm like, and eventually I'm like, well, is it really gonna matter? So our main lifts during the season were the trap bar deadlift and the bench press. Interestingly enough, I made a reference to this. The trap bar deadlift, for whatever reason, we can train that lighter than any other lift and make the greatest strength gains. Another reason why we use it in the in-season, we don't need to train very heavy, and the kids, for whatever reason, the strength carryover is massive. I mentioned JJ, the young man who jumped over the 32-inch box. If you guys, he didn't straddle it either. I'm telling you, it was one of the most amazing things I've seen. JJ, his highest trap bar deadlift in training was 385. He pulled 550 for 5 during a test week, okay? So we don't need to train that heavy to get stronger. I can't say that enough. Is there any other reasons why? Anyone? No? Okay. But that's one of the big things. Now, with some of the kids who have been in the program for a couple more years, I'll give them a few options. We usually do a lot of dumbbell incline bench. The reason why is because we do a dumbbell rows in between. Does that make sense? The reason why is they don't have to change the bench. If you don't think that matters, if you're in high school, right, you limit, they're not very smart, so we gotta give everything. But now sometimes I let the kids dumbbell bench instead of dumbbell incline bench. Those are the kind of changes I'm talking about, okay? Just so you guys wanna know what we do, we bench squat, trap bar deadlift. We dumbbell squat, dumbbell straight leg deadlift. We dumbbell incline bench and dumbbell incline row, like a chest supported row. We also allow some kids to do dips and chins that can do them. But those are our 7 movements, okay? That's it. All right, use indicators. Okay, Dave Tate taught me this. I don't know if Dave's here. He owns the business, so he shouldn't be here. Our indicators, this allows me to figure out if the kids are ready to train. The number one indicator, I got this from Buddy Morris, was if the kids, when I walk up to the weight room, are full of piss and vinegar, or you gotta shut them up to quiet them down and get them back, the kids are ready. If they got that attitude and they're just slap-dicking around, it's awesome. I remember one day during 2-a-days, I walked up to the weight room and I was like, shit, I got the time wrong, because it was quiet. And I go up there and there's 75 or 50 kids up there. I'm like, holy shit, like these kids are dead, okay? So if the kids are grab-assing around, the kids are ready to train. The other indicator, I mentioned this before, if they jump well, land well, bound well, and do gymnastics well, the kids are ready. The other thing is I use bar speed. Every 3 weeks, we change our training. We increase our training maxes. On that heaviest set, I say this all the time, on that heaviest set, if you cannot get 5 good, awesome, strong reps, it's too heavy, come see me. I tell them all the time, the main lifts are my responsibility. It is your responsibility to tell me that there's a problem, okay? But that is me, that is on me. I will not, if you give me the opportunity, put it on me. It's my responsibility to take care of the numbers. The assistance work, that's what I call individual sovereignty. You are responsible for yourself. You push as hard as you can, as hard as you want. We had a young kid, Richie Geib, on Wednesday. We put a little challenge to Richie and the rest of the kids to do 100 reps with the dumbbell squat with 100 pounds or over. Richie does 255 reps, 250 reps with mostly with 115 and 130, okay? But I put that on the kids. If you guys want to get bigger, if you guys want to get stronger, I will help you out with this, the main lifts. The other stuff, you got to start pushing, you know, and so the kids starting to respond to that a little bit more and more, and they start doing some pretty insane stuff. I can't see that, honey. What was that? 5. Okay. All right, does that make sense? So as a coach, you have to be ready to make changes. I always tell people, if you have to know your program that you're doing, it has to be you, okay? It can't be someone else's program. I can't take Alabama's strength program and apply it to my guys and think it's gonna work. It's not like that. In fact, I can go on and on about this. You have to, I call it knowing the trap doors of your training program. When the kids are shitty, what do? How do I retain the integrity of the workout and what we're gonna do and still cut back on stuff? Okay, you have to be ready to know that. And you have to know your program. Kyle's done this program for about a year now. It's only a year. I've been doing this since 2009, and I just figured out more trap doors. I didn't know them all the time. You have the tier program. You know, hey, if I do this, I wouldn't know what to do if something fucked up, but Joe Ken knows what to do, right? Do you still do the tier program? Right? Yeah? Okay. You can say something, Joe. It's okay. All right? But you have to know your program. Know, hey, if this kid's got bum shoulder, how do I retain the workout? How do I do all that stuff? So know your program. So it's okay. I'll give you an example. A lot of coaches contact me. They ask me what I do, and I said, listen, it's not a secret what we do. We use this with this and this and this. You know, I explain to them. And but how come London High School, the kids got super, super strong, everything changed, you know? But if, big old man, you look like do you ride a Harley or anything? No. If this guy takes that same program, the chances of it working for your athletes is okay. But the most important thing is not the sets and reps and the exercise schedule, because for years I thought that was. And it was at the time for me. But the most important X factor is the guy running the program. It's you. You have to know everything about the program. You have to understand what to look for. And I can't say that enough. My example always is Scott Frost. You guys know who Scott Frost is? Scott Frost goes to UCF. They roll a donut 3 years ago, right? And then they won 6 games. They went 14-0 and beat Auburn, okay? So Scott Frost leaves Oregon. Oregon goes to shit, right? They run the same offense though, right? He comes to UCF, they run the same offense as Oregon. How much game tape is there on Oregon's offense right now? There's millions of hours, right? Okay. And we can all argue that UCF doesn't always get the best athletes. So how come they went 14-0? Because everyone runs the same fucking plays. I don't care if you run the spread or the wishbone. Everyone, for the most part, there's only so many plays you can run in football, so many route variations. So what's the difference? And the only thing I was like, God, that's how important the general is. That's how important El Jefe is. And as a strength coach, you are your own El Jefe for your kids. So be the best coach you can be. And I'm almost done here. I'm going to just show you a sample of the workout that we do. The other thing, guys, don't coach what you don't know. Okay? For years and years, if you have been part of this for a while, I think the NSCA used to always push Olympic lifting, okay? I can't coach the Olympic lifts. Joe Ken can coach the Olympic lifts fine. I cannot coach. And plus our kids aren't very strong to do them. The whole point though is I'm not comfortable teaching them, fucking leave it out. If you're not comfortable teaching the back squat, but you know how to coach the front squat, then just front squat them. Coach what you know. That doesn't mean you never learn, but before you throw something in the program, you gotta know how to do it. You gotta know its effect, how to coach it and stuff like that. If you're just a bodyweight guy, guess what you should do with your kids? Just bodyweight stuff, because that's what your specialty is. You understand it, you know how to program it, okay? So that's the number one thing I tell everyone, like, you know, how do you coach the bench? Like, do you bench? No, then fuck it, don't do it. Just do push-ups or something, okay? Well, we won't do this. This is JJ's actual workout, okay? So we always warm up, obviously mobility stuff and movement. We warmed up with 10 contacts of box jumps. We did 10 bounds, okay? This one got cut off here. So this is the exact, he does 10 sets of squats, 5 sets of dumbbell incline, 5 sets of dumbbell incline row. The goal is to get this done in 45 minutes, and they usually do, okay? The most amazing thing that happened is our kids' conditioning went through the roof with just doing this. We are always moving. The kids aren't strong enough. They don't have great inter and intramuscular coordination that they need to take a big break between lifts, even with big barbell lifts. So we had an awesome, almost aerobic benefit to our training. And Kyle, he saw it more than anyone. He couldn't believe it. He said, Jesus, these kids don't run that much. Why are they in such good shape? This is part of it, okay? If you notice, we do 2 warm-up sets, 3 sets of what I would, the typical 5-through-1 style program. And then we drop down to what we call first set last. You see 260, that's our first kind of work set. And we do 5 sets of 5 there. We've tried pushing it to sets of 10 on the squat and tried pushing the assistance lifts a little bit more, but it stung me in the ass. Stop talking. Okay. Oh, Jesus. All right, and that's our running. But the whole point is, guys, we found a sweet spot with this. We don't have to deload that much. Before, when I really pushed the volume, so, but this ended up being the number one thing. This is in the forever book. It's not secret stuff. I can't thank you enough for coming out here. Guys, I love my job. If I won the lottery, I would first get rid of all social media. I would throw away everything, but I would continue coaching. It's the best thing I've ever done in my life. I've never had a more rewarding experience. I thank you, Kyle, for giving me the opportunity. I'm getting choked up because I love it. But guys, the changes you can make to a team physically is insane. The changes that I've made listen to me. The changes I've seen in some of these kids. We got kids who will never play a down, and they don't care. They all play a down. The personality change and the confidence that these kids have now is absolutely insane. And with all this shit that's going on with kids being bullied and not feeling part of stuff, if you can get these kids as part of a group, we train year round, and they're always with us. And they got kids that, man, you call them nerds or dorks or whatever. They come in, they kick ass, they give effort. All of a sudden, they're part of the crew, okay? And again, as in high school, that is a huge thing, okay? I'm going to be available for questions, I guess, somewhere. So I thank you guys for coming here. I don't know, I hope you learned something. I don't know what the hell's going on. Thank you.